I have some questions this time, make it a little bit more organized. All right, so this is ZeroPoint Module 7. Right now we have Asylum, Kalina, Quest for Crypto, and B. Waldo on. You guys all know me as the big meaty head Kryptoid. Um, the first questions I wanted to get to were just something funny that happened recently that seemed to really grab some headlines, and I just wanted to get some other people's opinions on the situation. Um, so does anyone have any opinion on the Elon situation regarding regarding his opinion on people trying to manipulate him via money with Disney and all that kind of stuff? Was it appropriate? Was it inappropriate? Was it long overdue?
I can speak to this. My opinion is not going to be the general one, but I don't believe anything anybody with over 10,000 subscribers has because I think they're all paid NPC shills. So, Elon, to me, maybe he has some nice points here and there, but ultimately, I think he's just, a paid actor like all the rest.
Interesting.
It's definitely a hot button issue. And I think the only reason why people like Elon Musk are coming out and speaking to it is because they have to. Without showing it any attention, it's a signal in and of itself. So it's cool to see the puppet show brought to more important issues like, the ADL and shit like that.
So what do you guys think about like the amount of support that he received? Like what do you think it means like in context of like the world's current mindset? Like do you think it resonated with a lot of people and that's why? I mean, aside from maybe the theory it's all like a puppet show type thing, do you think that maybe there's something going on with just people in general on why it resonated so hard?
I think he's probably picking up on the fact that the general public are sick and tired of everything they hear and see and experience being manipulated. So even if he wasn't being genuine, at least he's pandering to the crowd that wants to be left alone. So I guess maybe that's preferable for most people.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I mean, so do you think it's reflected in other places of society? Then it's not just a Twitter thing.
No, it's definitely reflective of where society today is. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was curious on other people's thoughts on that. I just personally thought it was pretty funny, especially because he was on like TV, regular news stations, cable news, everywhere. They just kept playing clips of it, and it was just hilarious to see rich people yelling at each other, I guess, and threatening each other.
What I find even more interesting is the types of people that are bothered by the fact he said that.
Probably. So, all right. So yeah, that's all I really had to talk about on that. I just wanted to feel other people out and hear their opinions. So other than like the apparent narrative that the Zero community is kind of like a bunch of mean and abrasive people, which I've found doesn't seem to be the case. Does anybody here have any opinion on what other factors they think might contribute to what I'd like to call like a culture of non-participants that feel like they know how everything should be done and how everything should be ran, but they don't actually participate with the rest of the community, but they have strong opinions. For example, like, wanting to pay to play with exchanges all the time. They want to hire marketing companies. They want to pay influencers. They're very loud, but they don't seem to want to contribute or interact with everybody else. Does anybody have any ideas on what might be causing that?
I just think generally it's all about show me your proof of work. So if you don't have any work to stand on, or you don't have, your opinions are like assholes, right? So you have something that you could base your opinion on. That's one thing, and we could look at and examine that. But something just sharing opinions for the sake of sharing opinions has very little value, in my opinion.
Anybody else? I'm not afraid of dead air like some other people. Dead air to me just means people are thinking. So,
Well,
go ahead.
I was just gonna approach the terminology non-participants, because they come off as people who quote unquote care about DERO and its progress forward. But the stuff that they choose to participate and promote is counterintuitive to that message. So I don't know. It's a divisive subject, and it's pandering to the wrong audience, I think, trying to do such a thing. But hey, everybody has a brain and they can think on their own, so it'll unfold as it should, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. No, that makes sense. And actually, kind of along with that point, so a lot of those people say that obviously we lack adoption, which I mean I would say is true, but I'm kind of curious, how do you guys define adoption? Like, what's your definition of adoption?
I think before I define adoption, I think that there's two ways that things can get done. You can get things done through power or through force. And if you try to force something to happen, there's a lot of usually unintended consequences that come as a result of that. So I understand where people sit in the community where they want something to happen, they want to do something, take some action, have something come out to their intended initiative end or outcome. But in my experience, it's always more powerful to things happen naturally and growth happens organically. And this type of instead of this type of I have to do something because I am going to be doing something that's going to make a difference and it's going to impact it in a certain way. I feel like power works that way when things happen naturally. When you try to force things, sometimes, like I said, a lot of unintended consequences.
Yeah, and you're using that term like forced adoption too. I mean, isn't that the root definition of like fiat currency? It's forced, like you're using it because you have to. I thought that was kind of funny. I know it's not directly related, but forced adoption, when you're forcing something and you're trying to push it through, I think what you're getting at is kind of prematurely. Um, you might not be getting the results that you intend. Maybe is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Well, you look at it from a literal standpoint, like as adoption. When you think of that, you think of you're taking a child from a troubled home. What child is more important? Who has the more troubled parents? The children of fiat or the children of the crypto world? And if you ask me, the children in the crypto world are better off. I don't care to adopt those kids. They didn't have it as rough as those out there in fiat still, whose parents are drinking and beating them every night. So just a little metaphor to make it from my perspective.
Yeah, metaphors welcome. So to get back to the original question though, how would you define adoption? Like in crypto specifically, how would you define, okay, adoption is increasing with project XYZ?
I would say the absence of centralized exchanges being a part of the equation for a mass group of people using a network would be considered adoption.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at though, so this is my opinion. So I think some people define adoption as holders and other people define adoption as users.
Correct.
Some people think if a lot of people are buying something that it's being adopted, but in my opinion, I think a lot of people using something is being adopted.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy 1,000 bags of apples and not eat a single one. Are you a customer of the orchard?
That's
You
a
know,
good metaphor too.
I was thinking about this as you were saying it, and I think that there are levels to it, but ultimately, I feel like adoption for the purposes of DERO would be people actually using our technology to do everyday tasks. So I would even venture to say that people within our community haven't even fully adopted it, including myself, because there's so much more that we could be doing within our community to be fully adopted. If we didn't have to even transact much in other currencies, I would consider that adoption.
Yeah, and And that actually kind of gets to my next point as well. So, like, when a portion of the community feels like people should use the technology, and a portion of the community probably just feels like people should just buy it. But when a portion of the community feels like people should use the technology in lieu of just like telling people to go out and buy it and pumping or whatever you want to call it, um, like without the knowledge and the skills and the self custody skills that come with that, does that make the people who on either side, does it make either of those groups anti-adoption, in your opinion?
No.
So so to say that
They
go ahead, Galita.
Sorry, I think there's a delay on my end. I feel like these groups want the same thing, and they just have different ideas. Like they've gone to different depths with it, right? In some cases, people might want adoption to reflect in price action. Me particularly, I want adoption to reflect in securing my safety to transact privately when a shift hits the fan situation occurs. So I think it's just a level of depth.
Yeah, and I've also been seeing some conversation too, and there's some people on both sides of the fence, obviously. Um, but like I personally don't think that the actions of one side impedes the ability of the other side in either way. So if there's a group of people who are trying to get adoption through people using it and the technology, and that's the way they prefer to pursue it, I don't really feel like they're impeding anything on the other side, but that seems to be some of the sentiment I see around. Like people are saying, "Oh, well, if you're just trying to get people to use the technology and you're not out there promoting it, telling people to buy it, then you're kind of screwing us on the other side of the fence over." But on the other hand, the people on the other side of the fence are not being impeded by that group. That group is not
Yeah.
actively stopping them from doing anything on their own, right? Is
Well,
that fair?
and the people that are advocating for the sale of DERO versus using it in their daily life are advocating for something that can't be sold without people on the other side of the fence. So one needs the other, and the other doesn't need the reverse.
Ah, interesting. That's a pretty good point.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that
About
Chucky Poop?
the adoption. Sorry, say it again.
Oh, I was just saying, is that Chucky Poop?
Phew. Try again.
Chucky Poo. I'm sorry.
Ah,
I'm
perfect.
sorry.
That's fine. Thank you. So about the adoption question, I'm super normie. I would say um, I hear a lot of price action and speculation and so on. But from my point of view, I think the adoption is coming from the utility, and whenever you use any technology, I think you try to adopt it. And if you use it on a daily basis, or this is what I'm trying to do. Let's say I'm trying to use Zero at least one time per day, and this is the way I think that adoption is coming for me. And adoption, mass adoption, there is another exception for that. I mean, for people who are speaking of adoption, is having more buyers, more holders of the crypto itself. And this is another point of view. I'm not sure that I'm sticking to this one. I prefer, of course, I hold Zero. I think all of us here around the table are in Zero. I hope so. But I think adoption is coming from the fact that you use it. And this is just keep the technology alive, even if it can live, of course, just because the blockchain is running and turning and the block height is going up. But the more you use it, the more you show the utility of the blockchain. And I'm not techie, so I'm counting on developers to say to prove. Maybe it's not the right word, but to show how high the utility of Zero is right now. And I think we are just scratching the surface of what DERO is capable of, and I'm eager to see the next step. And we have a lot of projects already built on DERO. Maybe more and more we will come, and I don't think the price of DERO will bring more developers, because we are, I think, at some point on the inflection point between it's, it's not believers, it's more people thinking of the fact that DERO can bring something that other technologies cannot bring right now. Even if it's a big word, it brings some kind of freedom at some point. And some of them around the table were attending yesterday, kind of after party, and we heard a lot of things, I would say. And we are not in the same world, I think. So that's my point of view about adoption. Thank you for listening.
Oh yeah, no, that was great. I think that kind of yeah, that definitely covers a little bit of both sides of the spectrum of what you were saying, because it's not as black and white of an issue as a lot of people try to make it. That's what I was trying to get at. But yeah, I agree. We're kind of at a certain inflection point where people are waiting to see the utility. People on one side of the fence are trying to prove the technology works and that it's useful and people want to use it. And then the other side of the fence is still waiting for someone to prove it to them, I think is what you were kind of saying in that part of it. And I agree. Does anybody have any opinions on like, oh, go for it.
It might help the people that are waiting to dig in and try these things and learn how they work instead of trying to sell something they don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but there's also, I mean, like, there seems to be like groups of individuals that periodically like claim to like capitulate. They all seem to have the same kind of copy paste sentiment from each other, but they claim to like capitulate on the idea of DERO, that it's not going anywhere, and they say they love the technology, but at the same time they don't use it or even know how to use it, but they still claim to be supporters of the project. As people, and I think most people who are speakers here have been part of the community for a while now, as people who are part of the community and trying to do something, and you see people complaining like that and capitulating or claiming to capitulate and giving up and blaming everybody else for it, as longtime community members that are trying to do something, does that make you guys feel any certain type of way, or do you just move on from it? I mean, what's your opinion? Me personally, I just keep trying to do what I'm doing, but I know that type of attitude can really seed feelings with other people. So I'm curious how other people feel about it. And to be more specific, like, for example, we have people that have been in the community for years, literally years. They don't seem to participate in the community. They don't seem to try to do anything. But every time they talk, they have something bad to say. They've still been around for years. What do you think drives people like that?
So I was thinking about this too. I feel like if people are, okay, my point of view for this world and this existence is that every aspect of self will often be reflected, and not every aspect of ourself can be active and contributing at all times to our brain capacity. So sometimes we need these kinds of reflections that are critical, right? I think that they're just a reflection or a fractal extrapolation of the human consciousness. So we're going to get that in every community. But it's more important, like, how we use that, because negative feedback is actually really excellent too, because it gives us an opportunity to expand our minds and our paradigms to finding solutions. Every piece of negative feedback or division in a community is an opportunity for us as people in DERO and people passionate about this technology to use this technology to create a solution that doesn't exist previous to that maybe has never existed in the world. So I feel like those people have a role, even though, of course, on a one-dimensional aspect of it, it can really suck to be, you could feel, oh man, my efforts are being thwarted. But I think that it's all about how we alchemize those situations.
Yeah, and there seems to be a crowd of naysayers, and usually people with that mindset whether they want to admit or not, are there to learn from for whatever reason. And what better way to learn how to solve a problem that you're having than to go somewhere else that could potentially be having the same problem, and pointing at them to try to get a solution out of it, which, that's one way to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, and part of the reason why I have a lot of these certain questions in here that I've been bringing them up is they're driven by some negative sentiment I've seen in the community, some statements I've seen people making. I want to hear the other side of it. I invited those people to come and have some discussion about it, open discussion. I'm not trying to bag on them. I'm not trying to make their opinion worthless, but I'm giving them the opportunity to speak about it and explain their side of it too. But, that's kind of why I'm asking you guys this kind of stuff, is because if I'm the only one who's alone in the corner, just being combative about these subjects and what they mean, then that's one thing. But if people who have these concerns aren't willing to step forward and discuss them openly and logically and civilly, then are these actual concerns, or are these just I mean, are they just there to just feed some sort of negative sentiment? I mean, we've been talking about a lot of things so far, and a lot of it is negative sentiment, right? It's like even the questions have like a negative tone to them because of what we're trying to discuss. So I don't know. I think that type of attitude of saying everything needs to be fixed a certain way, but still not wanting to discuss it, is very counterproductive to what everybody else is trying to do, I guess. And I was hoping that some of them would show up today and, request to speak and talk about that if that's their opinion.
Yeah, I was hoping the same, and I think a lot of people are planning to be here, and maybe it's just a slight delay, but I'm hoping some people show up, because I know a lot of people want to voice their opinions on this, and it would be nice to hear those here at ZeroPoint.
Yeah, definitely. I'm open to both sides of it. I really would like to hear the other side. Some of those questions that I asked, I mean, they seemed like they were one-sided questions, but unfortunately, with who's here so far, most of the people sit on one side of the fence we were talking about earlier. So you're only going to hear the one side.
I individually invited some people that I'm aware of that should be in the conversation, and if they don't show up, then it's from no lack of effort on our part.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, yeah, I'm not really sure what more to really add to that, other than the fact that it's not for lack of trying, like you're saying. Like, we're trying to have these discussions. We're trying to talk to people, but the sentiment I keep seeing is that we don't listen to anybody. We don't want to talk to anybody. We're all combative. We all just want to argue. And it's like people read that and they just assume it's true. But from my experience, like, we're with a group of people here that are all pretty nice, compassionate people in general. Maybe some of us are a little bit short on patience with certain attitudes that come towards them, but I think that's just a human thing. If somebody like kind of attacks you or insults you in a way, then maybe you don't treat them as nicely as the other person that just asked for help or asked a question. But yeah, just my opinion.
Yeah, and well, for me, I I really don't understand the big problems. I know a lot of people have been saying that they get a sense that by not explicitly supporting this um, community project, then the foundation and people who are close to DERO and have been in DERO for a long time are actually undermining it. And I feel like that's unfair, personally.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Well, it's I responded to somebody on that specifically being for the foundation, and it's there's multiple reasons and why I can't really have an opinion on it anyway. One, it has nothing to do with me. It's a community effort, and the community's working on it. I can't step in here and take a side. And two, you know, even if I did want to get behind something, I don't know any of these people. And me, personally, just me, being a part of the foundation, coming out and supporting somebody that I don't know in an effort to collect money to send somewhere else using cryptocurrency is not really something I could do anyway if I wanted to support it blatantly. But it's a community effort. I'm not going to disparage it, but I'm not going to go out and tell everybody who follows me on Twitter or is in the Discord or is a fan of DERO. I'm not going to go out and tell everybody, hey, you should do something with your money. That's not something that I can even do. If I wanted to, it would still be a bad idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And for anyone who's new to Twitter Spaces, if you do want to request to speak, just push on the microphone and it will send a request if you're not familiar with it.
Yep, and I'll prove you. I have no issues.
I think a couple things are going on here. I feel like, you know how before we edit nonsenses, we oftentimes didn't understand how each other were typing with the tonalities and stuff? I think that has a big part of it. I also think that uh, if it was me, I would like to see that our community assumes that if people are putting that much time and attention into our project, our community, our spaces to have opinions on things, and that we all genuinely want the same thing, but that might look different in everybody's mindset. So everybody might actually genuinely want DERO's success. But what that might look like from person to person obviously is going to vary. But I think it would behoove us as a community to, instead of just assuming the worst, and yes, we've had our fair share of trolls and all these kinds of things that have worked actively to undermine the community. I think that we would find it to be a very powerful mindset shift if we could shift out of this idea that every person is just a troll trying to undermine the community. Because if they're putting that much time and attention into DERO to even quote undermine it, they probably low key like it. I can say this from experience because I've had a lot of haters in my life. I used to be a dancer and other things, and the people that were my biggest haters actually eventually turned out to be my biggest fans. So I feel like that wouldn't just stop at me. I think that applies across the board. So if we can just start to view these people as genuinely wanting the same things, we can kind of shift to seeing that everybody's ideas, concerns, goals, visions, hopes, dreams are kind of the same thing. And I really hope to inspire us, if we just zoom out big enough, we can find the solutions to protect us. Like we can find within DERO's smart contracts, we can find solutions that create trustless environments that accomplish things big, such as getting listed on exchanges and protecting DERO's best interests. There's no limit to what we can do with this technology and the creative potential of our minds. And I just think that we're looking at this as a hindrance, right? We're thinking that this is a pure condition that's going to destroy us or tear us apart or segregate our community, when really it kind of looks like a battery from my perspective. One side is the positive terminal, the other side is the negative. And if we can orient these correctly, we're going to create a free energy device for solutions that nobody's ever made before. And that's kind of where I would like to see the focus of the community. Of course, I'm just one person, so take it as it is. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's not a bad take at all. But you did mention exchanges, and it reminded me of something that I've said a lot of times, but I don't think a lot of people have really heard me or read me saying it regarding exchanges. I'm not anti-exchange. I'm not anti-working with exchanges or anything like that. But with all the years I've been dealing with them, it's become very obvious to me over the years that it's not just the fact that they are pay to play for the most part, and they seem to just pull a price for whatever project out of a hat. They could set the price for this project, and then other projects they just list with no money. Other projects are just listed just because they've existed for a certain amount of time, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not only that part of it, but exchanges can also basically delist you or disappear with total immunity. Like, you could pay an exchange, you could get listed on the exchange. Hey, great for you. It's the hot new exchange. That exchange can disappear in 2 weeks, take your money, and you have basically no recourse. Um, there's a lot of problems in the crypto industry in general, and the centralized exchanges are one of them. So when you see the team specifically taking a certain stance on how we approach these things, it's not because we're incapable of, of getting listed. It's we were thinking it through to a point. I mean, let's see. Let's for example, the community really pushed to get on Cryptopia. We got the money together. We gave them the payment. I think it was 2 weeks later. Cryptopia exit scammed. We never saw that money again. We never got listed. Other exchanges we paid to we paid to get on. We were on for X amount of years. They basically decided they were going to delist us, and we don't get the listing money back. So it's not that the team is incapable or incompetent and not able to get listed on exchanges or deal with exchanges. We talk to them all the time. It's just the state of crypto in general and the state of these exchanges and the power that they have is far imbalanced. And in some cases, it's detrimental to even deal with. So if anybody was unclear on where the team is with that, it's not that we're incompetent. It's not that we don't talk to them. It's that the terms that these exchanges give are not in favor of you or us.
That therein lies my problem personally when people attack the idea of some people having a resistance to throwing community funds at an exchange listing. I mean, if you attack that idea, you're literally telling a large group of people that their suffering is less important than your greed. So there's no way for some people to take that objectively and not have a personal view of that pressure, you know. So I don't really see how you can unify and rationalize an entire community's vision concerning centralized exchanges, because the line is basically separating people that have no idea of what is actually going on in the industry and people that have seen it all before. So the friction is literally experience levels. That's what everybody's saying.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Actually, just a quick side note, some of the friction that the foundation has had between the developers actually sometimes was essentially the same thing. It was experience levels. Years ago, we kind of butted heads on a few things, and then time passes, you see how that would have worked out, and it was actually, that was probably the better way to go about that.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you want to suffer the fallout of disagreements based on people with not enough experience in the subject that they're yelling about, causing more people in the community to suffer? I mean, if you want a unified community, at some point, newbies are going to have to recognize that they need to listen and learn from people that have dealt with these things before versus the opposite.
Yeah, and actually, so obviously there are benefits to just getting on exchange. I mean, like, I think everybody knows when you get on new exchanges, there's pretty much always like a mandatory pump, right?
Exactly. Of course. We know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, does anybody have any opinions on if there is any benefits to a pump? I mean, just a pure pump, nothing from no technical adoption, nothing else, just a pure, we got it listed on exchange pump. What are the benefits to that people see?
The headlines would be, we would be speaking to the groks out there that go, oh, number go up, even though they don't know anything about it, the underlying technology. There's just another thing that they can put money into. So, would that be a benefit? I'm not sure, but it would be a headline. This thing, went up so much percentage. But the benefit of DERO becoming more valuable, I believe, is in the utility and the utilization of it. So the price of the coin goes up as more people utilize the technology and the adoption grows. And like I said before, organic adoption is what I would recommend and prefer instead of trying to force things.
No, yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, and that's why I asked this question, because I know that there's not only downsides to a pump, right? There are upsides. You get exposure, you get new people fighting it. Some of those new people that find it, it might be just what they were looking for and didn't know. They might really benefit from the technology. They might really want to be part of it, So yeah, it's not all downside, right? But also, like you said, if adoption doesn't actually come up as much as the price in that time, it's a free market, right? So your demand spikes, it goes up, then people aren't actually using it, and then you get that quick pullback and everything drops again because
You also
because
get an
because
increase you also get an increase in misunderstanding with that price because a large portion of the people that are drawn to those price spikes aren't people that are interested in learning how to deal with things on their own. They're interested in profiting off other people's effort, which is the sole reason why they're trading it to begin with. And that is reflective in the community discourse when you see large spikes of technical help requests, problems with wallets, things that people really should have tried to learn and figure out before they bought an asset, which they never will because they didn't care about knowing it. They only cared about profit. So,
well,
I'm not sure that experience is healthy for anybody in the community that cares about the technology.
yeah. So like in regards to technical adoption, right? So I mean, do you sometimes feel like you have to explain the underlying technology of blockchain, encryption, layer 1 versus layer 2, smart contracts, and I mean, like really do you sometimes feel like you have to explain all the underlying technology of the basics of crypto to people before you could even have a true discussion with them on DERO?
And I mean, why if if this is the person that bought into something before they even asked those questions, I don't consider that a community member. So I don't consider that adoption or expanding the community. I
But
don't
they but
think
but
that's
as
good.
Quest was saying, but as Quest was saying, they could turn into one though. Like that might have
Sure.
been the driver that brought them in, but they could definitely turn into a community member and they could adopt, right?
Okay,
But I mean,
but
what portion? But what portion of? Yeah.
yeah, out of that whole pool, the people that seem to stick around is less than 1% in my experience. Now, is
But
that worth all of that pressure and stress just for the 1% gain?
yeah, I mean, but like in regards to like having to explain like a lot of the underlying technology of just like crypto in general and how it actually works, do you think there's ways that we could actually? I mean, I know that like Quest and I and you are gonna be working on like some like dev talks and things like that. But is there a way that we can teach people more about what crypto actually is and DERO is, so they can get a better idea of it? Is there something we're missing here? Like, and 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 this question, I know there's a lot of people who are actually working on things. Actually, looks like Privacy Atlas just asked to speak. Maybe he's somebody who could like, what could we do to improve on that type of education? Like, if
I think,
there
yeah,
if there's a block there.
I think blockchain 101 would be a good thing for us to put together and introduce to people that are new to the community, just so that you understand the fundamentals of what a blockchain is, what it does, and the capabilities and also some of the limitations. It was talked about that I participated in the secrets hosting of Apollo earlier today, and it was a great session. That was one of the questions that came up was about, prerequisite knowledge. Prerequisite knowledge is very useful, and just kind of the fundamentals of blockchain would be something that everybody would benefit from, so that you have kind of a foundational understanding of it.
Good feedback. I agree. That's sounds like a great idea. Sorry, I'm just taking a note here. I mean, does anybody else have any ideas or maybe change an approach or anything like that?
I mean, it's kind of a cultural problem in that sense that you have to somehow get people to be interested in learning those things before putting their money in things.
Well, that
I don't see how that's something that the DERO community specifically can take on because it's kind of a
well,
global issue.
well, I agree, but then there are the people who do want to learn, and if we're not fulfilling that need, if there is a need there, I mean, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing right? I think we're doing a lot right now
Yeah.
at this moment. Um, but if we're doing something wrong, that's was kind of the feedback I was looking for. If anybody has any feedback on what they think should be changed on that front, I'm more than willing to hear it. You're welcome, Brad. All right, so I don't know who that was, but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, could you ask the question again? Like exactly what is the question here?
So the question is basically like, what can we do to improve the way that people learn about DERO and the blockchain in general? Because it seems like there's like this learning curve that has to be overcome, right? You have to understand blockchain, you have to understand layer one versus layer two, and then you have to understand layer one versus layer two in privacy and how those both work. And there seems to be a lot of, as Quest was saying, prerequisites that kind of you have to have a basic fundamental understanding of before you really understand why what DERO is and why it's important that it works that way. So the question is, in regards to those things, is there something we could do better as a community to help teach people those things? Are we on the right track? Are we doing some things wrong?
I would say sample size of people attempting to do those things is very important. Like if we have a base of maybe 15 to 20 educators in the community, and if somebody from the outside comes in and says, you need to do a better job. Okay, well, the solution to this friction is more people. It's not telling people that are already doing everything that they can do to do more than they are, which they can't.
I, I,
You see what I'm saying, right?
well, of course, I understand what you're saying, but the purpose of the question was, and we touched on this earlier. I was hoping there'd be more people here that sat on the other side of the fence on some of these questions, because I see them a lot, and there seems to be a sentiment of people who think that things aren't being done correctly. So, a lot of my questions were loaded to let those people speak and let those people, express why they think that way. Um, there's a sentiment that we're not open to speak. There's a sentiment that we are aggressive and mean. But I don't see that, and I'm just trying to give them the floor. But it doesn't seem like any of those people have stepped forward in wanting to take the other side in a lot of these questions. So we're kind of stuck here, just agreeing with each other on some of this stuff.
Um, I'd like to speak to that. I know that Privacy Atlas is here, and he's very much interested in the fundraiser and doing some initiatives. So maybe he'll speak next. But just a quick idea: what if we made like little videos that were kind of cartoonized, very simple, and we put them in like the first things that people see? Like we recommend, hey, check out this little mini series, and we could have like little mini modules that break down the problems with normal blockchain, because you kind of have to know the problem to understand the power of DERO as a solution. So what if we had something very, very simple, maybe like less than 5 minutes each video, um, cute, colorized, entertaining, good music, something like that that people would enjoy watching as they onboard into DERO community so that they can kind of really understand and appreciate DERO at the deepest levels.
Yeah, explainer videos are always good. We tried to dip into those about 4 years ago or so, but technology changed a bunch of times, so we lost that content really because of the changes in the protocol. And I agree with you, but I do want to add that maybe not just focusing on the problems of other blockchains or problems of blockchain, but literally starting at how blockchains work. like Quest was saying, literally starting at blockchain 101, because you have to know how blockchain works before you can start picking it apart, right? But yeah, that's good stuff.
So yeah, it's one thing for people to suggest or recommend things to be created, and then there's people, that want to raise their hand, like myself and others, and say, okay, I'm going to take this task on or that task on to help accomplish. So, it takes a community. So if those of you that are out there that want to get involved and get active on building learning materials, that's what my central focus is, and that's kind of my background and my pedigree. So reach out to me, let me know on Discord or wherever that you want to get active and involved in. I got multiple projects going on and working with supporting different developers and stuff too, but I'd love to be able to have a wider community of people that want to join in and participate so that we could build something better.
Yeah, it takes a village. And Privacy Atlas, I don't know if you were here earlier, but some other subjects that we had touched on were basically in regards to, the benefits of exchange listings, or if people wanting, to push technical adoption or push for financial adoption, for lack of a better term right now, if they're impeding each other in any way, or if there's a problem with taking either side of that fence, really, or do they kind of work in synergy? Um, do you have any opinions or anything on that? Or I see that you have speaker privileges now, so if you have anything to say on any of these subjects, feel free.
Hey guys. So I've been listening, and I've seen that the way you guys asked if what are the benefits or the cons of a pump, but I would ask what are the benefits of the price just falling. I mean, for being the minimum for 1,000 days. What will people that want to invest or hear about this project, and they look and they just see that it goes down and down and down? I mean, what could be the advantage here?
But I'll start out with a little bit of, you're asking what is the advantage of price falling. So that's a little bit that's well, hold on. That's obviously a negative. Something negative rarely has advantages to it. So it's loaded in the beginning. However, the reason why the question is what are the advantages to a pump is because it's obviously positive and there are benefits associated with it. So the question is, are there downsides, are there upsides? And there are. As far as not necessarily the price going down, but the price not going up, maybe sideways, maybe not going up as much. The benefits of that are stability and building a community that cares about the technology versus people that only want to, as you said, invest. Investing in something is a lot different than participating in something and using something. I'm not against people who want to invest in things. Obviously, even your time's an investment. But when you frame it as if you don't make price go up, then investors don't come in, that really, you're really talking about DERO as if it is only a tool for investment and only from one perspective. So I see what you're saying. And I could agree with some of it. But you have to understand there's people on the other side of that fence too. And that's kind of what we were getting at earlier.
I just want to say that the success of a project is reflected in the price. If the price just keeps going down, it's not a good thing. It's not something to cheer about. That's it.
I understand your point, but successful projects aren't always reflected by price. Think of how many projects have gone up and up and up and up in value and were totally not successful, ended up burning a lot of people, but their price reflected that they were worth a lot of money because they were important and successful and it was the future, but really was vaporware. So price isn't always a reflection of the value.
I would
At
say
the
it's
same-
rarely a reflection of the value in this market.
at the same time, gave opportunities to the early adopters, like in Bitcoin, like Ethereum, to reinvest a large part of the money and further develop the project and take it further. So if people coming in and just lose and lose and lose, well, no one is going to invest for future projects.
Yeah. And that's fine because at the end of the day, DERO is not an investment. It's not a security registered with the
Yes,
SEC.
I'm speaking for development, for projects, to invest for new projects on their own.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, hard times come sometimes. But I also notice that you're kind of framing anybody who doesn't want to just pump it. You're also framing those people as wanting the price to go down, which is obviously not the truth. It's just the indifference to the price is all that's really there. It's not wanting the price to go down. It's not wanting the price to not move up. It's indifference to the price. And like I was saying before too, there's two sides of this fence. They work together. Everybody can work together. Nobody's against anybody here. But there's just some people who might be indifferent to pricing. And does that impede on anybody else's efforts to try to bump the price? I don't think so. It doesn't impede anybody else's efforts. I just don't see those efforts anyway. And other people have been trying to, take those efforts to pump the price and push them onto people who are indifferent to the price, and then blaming those people for not trying to pump the price while they sit there and complain about it. If those people want to market, they can do so. Nobody's stopping them. However, the approach is to blame the people who are doing something else while not doing anything themselves.
There's also another class of people, not just two. There's the people that are indifferent, there's the people that want to list it, and there's the people that do not want to list it. And those
I don't think there's anybody who doesn't want to list it. I'd like you to find somebody who doesn't want it listed.
I think they made it pretty clear on the Discord talks.
No. I would challenge you to find somebody who literally is anti-exchange listing and does not want it listed. They might not agree with how it gets listed, but not wanting it to get listed, I don't think you'll find any.
And I wish there were a few more of the community devs here to ask. I see Secret join. Maybe he can speak to this. But I'm curious at what was the thought process in their mind when they found DERO and started building on it. Was it, hey, this coin just had a quick pump, or like, did they see the speed and the ease of use? Like, because if we're talking about attracting new developers to build, I kind of want the ones that see the technology for what it was or heard about it and came to it, rather than saw the price increase, and was like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty fast, so, but I'm not a developer. I'm just trying to learn. So maybe, like I said, maybe someone here can speak to that.
I don't think too many of the people who are on here right now, aside from Secret, are the people who are actually developing actively. And me personally, when I first found it, I was looking for something that was useful and had some potential to it. And the potential is what grabbed me. And the use cases and how privacy is achieved just kept getting better. And that's why I stuck with it. I use DERO to use it, but unfortunately, I work like 50 hours a week basically at my normal job, and then I do the stuff I do with the community and everything here. I don't really have a lot of time to develop too many things directly on DERO, especially once you add family and all that to it.
To me, the benefit of having the price the way it is that I can buy as much as possible.
Yeah, there's a benefit. I guess there are technically benefits of price going down if you're looking for looking at it from an investor point of view.
But I think those of us that have looked at DERO and figured out the many different benefits and some of the utility, that's what makes it more valuable to me when I look at it and go, oh my gosh, look at this, all the stuff that you could do with this thing, you know, and the price is what it is. Like it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think with me too, it's obviously it's been a monster of a task to actually achieve and pull off for the developers and the way that they have. It was considered, it was at least twice the developers and the community were told what you're talking about is impossible. If you figured out that would be the holy grail. Twice, I remember that was the narrative, and both times it worked. And it ended up happening. So, but now,
awesome.
but then, yeah, but then after it gets achieved, that everyone's like, oh, so you did it? Okay, well that's cool, I guess. And then they like kind of walk off and get quiet. So,
And those people are all gone today.
so I mean, so yeah, the utility is also, it was for a lot of years here. I mean, I guess I'm speaking from a certain perspective, because it's being involved for so long. But you know, for years, it wasn't just the current utility that we have now. It was getting to the point where it has the current utility that it has now, and seeing that, you know. So I guess I was still thinking of what Waldo was asking. And it's like, what drew you to it as far as the technology goes? And it was, well, when this thing starts working, it can be applied to so much that it's insane. And now it's started working, you know, pretty recent. So the only developer I know in the room right now is really Secret, who started building stuff. So
Marcel,
Secret.
if you'd like to see.
Oh, is Marcel? Yeah, Marcel's here. I think I invited him to speak earlier, but he can request if he wants. Anyway, speaking of how long I've been in this project, I don't know how many people are aware, but DERO will be turning 6 years old in 3 days. So December 5th, happy birthday, DERO.
Who is this Kryptoid?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Well, I think we've spoken a few times, but good to hear you on the call.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, so DERO's 6 years old now. And yeah, been a long journey. Let's see. We have another person requesting to speak. Their name is Anand. Anand, did you have something you wanted to add?
Hey guys. Yeah, I just wanted to come back to a point I heard earlier. It was about like using DERO, and at the same time people want to buy as much DERO as they can at low prices. I assume you want to buy DERO at lower prices to sell at a higher price, right? Otherwise, for me it makes the argument a bit weaker, because we all, at the end of the day, we all want to, and we all need money to live and survive, right?
Yeah, so this is the investor versus technology point of view that we were talking about earlier. So obviously it depends what side of the fence you're on, and wanting to buy lower is the investor side of the fence. Yeah. Being indifferent to the price is kind of the other side of the fence. So I don't know for sure who was saying the benefit of the price going down is you can buy more.
Yeah, it was Quest. It was me. So I started out as an investor only. Like I wasn't involved in any of the Discord. I wasn't involved in anything. I was just involved in understanding and learning about the technology and like, wow, this really is a cool project. and putting some money in there as an investor. So that was kind of where I came from. But now, in being active in the community and working on specific projects, now I'm looking at it from a completely different perspective, and it just makes that investment that I made that much more valuable in my mind. And yeah, we're talking about price, and to me, price is an issue if you have something that you want to buy it now and sell it later on, whatever. But the tool itself and the technology itself has value, and I don't think that people that know about crypto have come across this. Enough people know about crypto, come across this, and understand the real utility of it. And so I've considered myself an early adopter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, I have no interest in selling DERO, period. I want to use it. So everything that I've bought personally over the last 6 years, I have no interest in getting a dollar out of it. I want to use it in the ecosystem. So to me, a price pump has relatively no bearing on my usage. And so being expected to apply it at some kind of level of meaning to my usage of the network is kind of, I would say, micro-violent in a way, because I'm being asked to arbitrarily value something that I already care about separately through the lens of something that's incorrect or a misassumption of its use. So I think I think I can't speak for everybody, obviously. I mean, if you have interest in profiting out something, by all means, do whatever the hell you want to do. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. Just don't expect people to peacefully accept having your views of their own life and their own doing imposed on them by you. That's my point.
Sacred, you don't have to raise your hand. Like,
Oh,
you're fine.
no.
Thanks.
So I actually am going to argue. So because as like a developer, someone who uses and spends DERO, I want it very much in the same way that I see my groceries or my gasoline. Pretty much any bill that I have in my life, I'd love to see it get cheaper. And so it's so funny to me that like I make this very rational claim that I want the things that I love to be cheaper, but I catch a lot of not flack or resistance. Like some people just don't get it. So I loved that question because it gives me an opportunity to kind of like step forward and say like, hey, I like the things that I love at cheaper prices. Is that like, from your perspective, Anon, is there some kind of evil wrongdoing that it's done when you want cheaper prices for the things that you love?
No,
Yeah, like imagine your tank of diesel that you're putting in your truck costing 10 times more today than it did yesterday. How would you feel?
Oh, when I said Anon, I meant the person specifically in this room, not Anon, like the type. But yeah. So like to redirect this back on the Anon, so like is
I
there
believe he was going to answer, so we could just give him the floor.
yeah, no, I just wanted to say, like, for me, I really don't care about the price, because where I see this world's going, I just need to I need the ability to throw some moves. I need the ability to buy stuff, like you said, for example, groceries, or maybe gasoline from someone who piled it up in his house or in his shed or something, when the world is really turning into shit. So for me personally, I have enough other coins where I'm just for the money, just to get some money. I trade daily. Yeah, that stuff I just use for the money. So I totally agree on that. I don't care. I buy DERO every week. I have my standard day. I don't care if it's 350 or 320 or something. I really don't care, man. I just wanted to use it when it eventually the utility is being built. I really believe and I really hope that some marketplace is being built on DERO, specifically for DERO, where everyone is paying in DERO only, and maybe you can swap it for Monero or Monero for DERO, whatever you want. I really don't mind. Don't get me wrong, but I don't mind an exchange listing as well. I don't mind price going up now as well. As I said earlier, I'll just buy it regardless. Why holding fiat money that's turning into zero eventually? We all know that. We all know that fiat money is going to zero. You have dollar, yens, doesn't matter, bro.
We just built the Airbnb, and it's a market for everybody to use on DERO, but there's no users.
Not yet, because it's poor marketing. From my point of view, maybe look. I also speak to the boys from Valhalla. I know that they're doing something with storyboards and all kind of stuff to make it very simple. To make it very approachable for the normal people.
Yeah, and touching on this, so both Airbnb and Valhalla are both community projects at the end of the day. So those are things that should be marketing themselves. When you say poor marketing, are you talking about poor marketing from the DERO project or poor marketing from those projects?
No, I mean poor marketing in general, because I don't want to speak for other NFT projects, because I don't want to insult anyone's work, because I like the art. I bought almost all of them myself as well, but there's a point that they hit a wall or something, because I can think of a lot of things you can do, but you just need to do it. And I think that can attract more exposure as long as you keep consistent and keep doing it, and just don't stop.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think as far as those specific projects go, they should obviously market themselves, but also when it comes to ease of use, that's another thing a lot of people tend to overlook a little bit, because we've been in DERO for a while. When right now, as it stands, and this is just the honest state of things, the best wallet to use that's the most universal for all users is the CLI wallet. Not a lot of people are going to use that. So if you, like, for example, get onto an exchange, that exchange does a bunch of marketing for you, and other people get hyped up and everybody runs and buys this coin, how are they going to take it to custody if they don't know how to use the CLI wallet? So that's something that's being worked on. People are trying to make it easier for people to use DERO in general. But without that piece in place, we are kind of in a weird spot where the early adopters can use it still. But if you start bringing in new users that don't know how to use it, they're not going to get the value of the network out of it.
No, I agree on that. Look, I know some guys that are waiting specifically for the wallet to launch to make some moves eventually, but yeah, I agree on that one.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's just, like I said, that's just kind of the honest state of kind of where that piece is at right now. And there's unfortunately not much we can do. I mean, other than build things. So other than making things easier to use and building things for people to use, there's not much else we really can do. Yeah, just like, for example, even let's just say NFT projects, for example, that hurdle for people to use those NFT marketplaces that exist is kind of a big one still. So that's probably the wall. I mean, you were saying, some of these projects, it feels like they hit a wall, and that might actually be the wall. And I'm just speculating. I'm not sure, but to me, it sounds like it's possibly related to the learning curve that exists right now.
The wall is the number of people that are already here. There is no more new people. That's the wall.
You're saying the people that are in this conversation are the wall blocking everything?
No, the ones that know about DERO, it's there's no.
Oh, you're saying there's only 10 people in the community?
No, not 10, but I guess under 1,000 that actually hold any DERO, and probably 100 active that are active on Discord or something.
That everything has to start somewhere, my man.
So what? That's what we're trying to do, to expand.
Right. Right. So if you want to expand the amount of holders, people who hold their own cryptocurrency are true holders. People who have cryptocurrency on exchanges are pure speculators. If you want to increase the amount of speculators at this point with the technology to actually hold your own crypto in your self-custody has a steep curve to it that people aren't willing to fully learn. You're not going to increase holders, you're going to increase speculators. That's about it.
Some of them are speculators, but some of them would come and ask, "Hey, there's a wallet. Hey, where can I store my DERO?" Hey, I mean,
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely going to be a percentage of people that do that. I do agree. And that was and I
will remain in the project.
I don't know if you were listening yet, but I don't think you were a speaker yet. But earlier we had talked about, what are the benefits to just a pump without technical adoption, and that was one of them. You could bring in new users. It's not all it. The reason I asked that question is to show that even though there is a camp of people that might think there's a camp of people who are anti the price going up, that's not the case. They're either indifferent or they want it to go down because they want to buy something they love for cheaper, a secret set or whatever, right?
And
I don't
sell for more.
No, he said specifically it's because it's something he uses. And I can attest to that. Secret uses DERO all the time. He probably uses it most of his day in everything. So he can't use the network without having the fuel, which is the DERO. But I agree. But you're coming from an investor point of view. Other people are not coming from the same point of view. That doesn't mean that anybody is impeding your efforts or disparaging your point of view. They just simply don't agree. And not agreeing with something doesn't mean you're anti something. It just means that's not your point of view. And everyone is entitled to their own point of view.
Yeah, but
including you.
I'm coming from also the Airbnb projects that it needs adoption also. This is not just an investment; it's also a development on their own.
Then I think you should do everything in your power in order to push that, because that is your project.
Yeah, we did, but now we're waiting for wallets. We're waiting for other better tools to replace the RPC bridge. I mean, we did most of our job.
Well, you did your job. Who is paying? You did your job. I don't understand this point of view. You're saying I did so much, so now everything else is on somebody else, is what you're saying.
We developed Airbnb. It's working on DERO.
Nobody's using it.
An interface, but
nobody's using it.
Tools to be very easy to use. I mean, if you're
in all honesty, it sounds like you're not done then. If it's not easy to use, then it doesn't sound like it's finished. And if you're just going to blame other people you're just blaming other people for not making specific types of wallets to work a certain way that you want them to work. You're taking the burden of your marketing or your failure or whatever you want to call it. You're taking that burden and you're putting it on other people at that point. That's my opinion.
It's not a failure because the project is not done. It's still ongoing.
But you said it was done, and you were just waiting on other people to finish what they're doing.
Some other tools would greatly help, yes. But it doesn't depend on Airbnb.
So to go back to your other point, how would being listed on a new exchange fix that problem for you?
First, there's a greater adoption in a number of users that know about DERO. Second, it gives
but you just said that nobody can use it because you're waiting on other tools still. So if nobody can use it, it doesn't matter how many users are there.
nobody is using it yet. because
Right. So
because there's
the answer is it.
so few people that know about this.
Right. But my point is you're pushing for something and blaming that same something on a hurdle that you're having in a project that you're working on when the two things don't seem to be connected in my mind.
I'm not blaming anyone. On the contrary, I'm trying to solve some issues.
Okay. Well, so what I heard you say earlier was Airbnb, nobody uses it because you're waiting on other people to finish their job because you've done your job. And a centralized exchange is what you're pushing in the scenario too. So
Let me finish. At the moment, it's very hard for a regular guy that's not part of crypto to he just wants to travel. He just wants to book that property, and what is he going to do? Oh, you need to go on TradeOver, buy DERO. Then you need to download this CLA wallet. Then you need to
correct.
use and get the RPC bridge to install it. Then you can use the site. So it's not practical. That's what I'm saying for people that
How do you use most DERO or Ethereum dApps? It's the same process other than the wallets on CLI.
it's not really. It's a lot.
You don't need plugins for your browser or anything?
Well, there's the MetaMask, yeah. You use it, but
Yeah, that's a RPC bridge equivalent.
but it's also a wallet.
Okay. But
So
but see what I'm hearing you say though is still what you're saying is DERO's too hard to use, right?
as of
And
now,
and Airbnb is too hard to use. And everybody in this room, or not everybody in this room, but a lot of the people in this room are actively working on teaching people how to use it and building tools to make it easier for people to use it. So it sounds like you got everybody on the same side. So I'm not sure where the argument comes into play, other than a centralized exchange listing, which doesn't affect this conversation.
Yeah, I think we're all on the same side, and we should be also for this greater exposure. That's it.
No, I agree. And I see your points. I do. And I know I sound very argumentative, but it's what I'm doing is I'm not sure if it translates to other. I know it sounds like English might be your second language, but I'm playing devil's advocate. Have you heard that expression before? Basically I'm giving the opposite point of view to move the conversation forward so we could discuss all the details, right? I'm agreeing with you. It sounds like I'm arguing, but I'm really just trying to pull all the details out of that conversation.
Yeah, but yeah, I also agree. I said I think we all want the same for DERO. It's just it's a misunderstanding here at how we should move on this level. Some want just to the organic growth, and some want the centralized exchange also exposure. So that's it.
Yeah. It's like Quest was saying about something else earlier, but it takes a community of people to get everything done. There's too much to be done. there's just too many things that have to happen.
Maybe.
All right, looks like.
Can I say one and not challenge other people in the community and to help them instead?
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody could take a little bit of that advice, including myself, is to challenge people less and help more, right? But I do think we're getting close to the 1.5 hour mark. I don't really have too many other things to say, except for again, I want to remind everybody this project's 6 years old now. In 3 days, December 5th, is Zero's 6th birthday, and now we can actually say that it's the world's only layer 1 encrypted blockchain. It has no trusted execution environments. It supports smart contracts. It has lightning fast transfers. It's all proof of work. There's no black box technology. It's just math. So that's a huge achievement in 6 years, guys. But if anybody has any closing thoughts, feel free to say something now.
Thank you for letting me speak, man.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're welcome to come back anytime. All right, guys. Remember, not your keys, not your coins, not your coins, not your business. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Take care.
Have a good one, everyone.
After